I'm here at the scene of the crime spree, right behind me.
Strange. Vice Mayor Strange, you'll address her properly.
You can kiss my foot.
Mr. Rickard, you're out of order.
FBI, we are asking you to investigate this council. Please look into this council, how they award contracts, the bid process, how they use their positions to benefit their friends and themselves, how they use their positions to attack residents and critics and neighbors and business competition. FBI, will you please look into this?
And I welcome the FBI here. If you notice, Mr. Thompson, with his plea for the FBI and his watchdog group, this city runs the cleanest in this whole county. I guarantee
He was served a federal subpoena this morning.
Did receive a subpoena this morning, and we're going to cooperate 100% with the subpoena.
And most of you who were involved up here, you gaslighted me. You tried to say I was crazy. And now we know that that's not true. And there's a lot of other issues I've been asking about as well.
Yesterday, I showed you irrefutable proof that the prosecution's main witness, former city manager Michael White, could not have possibly said, his testimony could not possibly be true, that in mid to late 2017, James Finch told him that he needed the certainty of a former commissioner's vote, Antonius Barnes, in order to secure the financing for the 17th Street ditch. Okay, I showed you that. And that turned out to be a total of $4.4 million of Finch's own money. Finch loaned the city $4.4 million, said, you don't have to pay me the last payment till after I'm 95. And only 2.55% when prime was 5.8%. I showed it to you. The financing had already been secured at least 6 months before that. The prosecutors know this. The judge knows this. Sheriff Ford knows this, who pushed this. The FBI knows this. Everybody knows it. For a non-crime, in fact, for a great, great thing that Phoenix Construction, James Finch, did in 2016 and 2017. There was a ditch that was more like a ravine that ran along the road that was very dangerous. People crashed in it often. One poor lady died in it. And the commissioners didn't want to, they didn't want to dip into the money there and take care of it. So they were doing it, 200 feet at a time. And the then city manager, Joel Schubert, said, look, let's fix it now. James Finch said, I can fix it now. And he did within a year. The city said, well, I'm not sure we can afford this, James. You're saying you can do the whole 3,300 feet for $5.2 million? Whoo. Finch said, I'll help you. I'll loan you the money. Somebody came up and said, well, how do we know Finch isn't going to just keep adding to the cost? James Finch walked up at the meeting and said, how about this? Don't pay me till it's done. Wouldn't it be nice if all the contractors did that? And they didn't pay him until it was done. $5.2 million is what he said it would cost. But the city manager at the time, Joel Schubert, was able to work out a partnership with DOT, and they took a bunch of the cost, and it went down to $4.4 million that the city borrowed from James Finch on the recommendation of staff, city attorney, city manager Joel Schubert, and a unanimous vote. They were very grateful. You saw it yesterday. They said it was a great deal for the city, didn't you? And you saw that it was not, as described by the state attorney's office and the FBI and Sheriff Ford and everybody else, who said Mayor Anderson extended it for 30 years so Finch could make another million or two. The FBI told that to a grand jury. They rewrote the indictment 4 times. One trial's not enough. They got to go back again and again because there's not enough evidence. There's no evidence to support the charges because they're utter and complete bullshit. That's why. And everybody knows it. But some people are playing let's pretend. Let's pretend this is legitimate. Let's pretend we should spend God knows how many millions of dollars from Sheriff Ford's public trust unit to the FBI, to the U.S. Attorney's Office, to everybody. How many years? This is 2016 and 2017. When they know more than $3 million flowed through Bay County after Hurricane Michael, they're focused pre-Hurricane Michael on this. Their main witness, Michael White, who himself has pled guilty of defrauding the city of almost $5 million. That's their main witness. And tonight I'm going to show you that it was then city manager Michael White himself who advocated the hardest to add more money to the mortgage that Finch gave the city. All right, I'm going to explain all this to you and I'm going to show it to you. And there will be no doubt, there's no room for doubt. All right, I'm going to show that to you. All right, did you see the newspaper yesterday? Well, last week, the News Herald said, after the elections, like 2 days after the elections, because it's the USA Today, their subsidiary, the News Herald, which publishes two-day-old news, literally 2 days after the election said that Panama City Mayor Greg Brudnicki won. No, he earned a runoff with Doc Rowan. He did not get more than 50% of the vote. He got 47% of the vote. Doc Rowan got 41% of the vote. And I want to remind you that there's a runoff election, and 2 days ago, the News Herald got it right and said, oh, wow, there's a runoff election. Now, they didn't correct their election interference. But the article they wrote yesterday, got it right. There's a runoff election. There's a runoff election between Greg Brudnicki and Doc Rowan. And Panama City has a chance to elect somebody that will treat residents like the constituent rather than St. Joe like the constituent. And I want to share with you a quick paid campaign ad before I show you City Manager Michael White advocating for James Finch, the prosecution's main witness advocating for James Finch. Right after this. Doc Rowan is running for mayor of Panama City. The city wants to spend $170 million to build a new civic center. They could have restored it for $12 million. Why are they so determined to spend more than $150 million than they should? And they want to shut down the boat ramp in the marina. If they have their way, generations of boaters and fishermen would become second-class citizens. It's time for a mayor who puts you first, rather than the big developers. Vote for Doc Rowan on or before April 18th. All right, let's go to the City Commission meeting in Lynn Haven on September 12, 2018, less than a month before Hurricane Michael. And here's the setup. At this point in time, September of 2018, Michael White had been the city manager now for about a year. The better city manager, Joel Schubert, had been gone for a year. He went to the county, where he is the assistant county manager now. So Michael White had been the city manager for the last year at this point, September of 2018. Mayor Margot Anderson is the mayor. And at this point in time, the 17th Street ditch is done. And Finch has a $4.4 million loan that he's given the city. But remember, when it first started, the talk first started back in 2015, Finch said it would be about 5.2 million. The Bank of Finch, the Bank of James Finch told the city he's got $5.2 million for him. But it only ended up costing 4.4 million because the city manager at the time, Joel Schubert, got to deal with DOT to pay for some of it. Well, you know what it's like. You know, the city's slapping their arm going, we're leaving a lot of money on the table, right? So the city in 2018 says, you know what? There's some, they got serious flooding in Lynn Haven, especially over in the area where city manager Vicky Gaynor was going to buy a house. So they said, look, we can do some storm drain work over there. And Phoenix Construction, they do the best work. They get it done on time. They don't, you know, they get it done under budget, under time. And they finance it. So let's go back to the Bank of Finch and ask him, hey, James, you loaned us $4.4 million at 2.2% over 30 years. Thank you. Any chance we can get another $790,000 tacked on to that? Because we want to do the storm drainage around this area where the city manager, Vicky Gaynor, is going to buy a house soon. They didn't say that part. And what do you think Finch told the city of Lynn Haven? He never says no to Lynn Haven. He says, of course, I'll loan you another, tack it on. So that comes out to 5.2 million, just like Finch said he had to give them. I got 5.2 million for you, but they didn't have, so they wanted the whole amount. 790,000. Boy, that's exactly 5.2 million now. So Finch said, yeah, you know, if the commission wants to do it and say, yeah, sure, sure. Okay. It's not, this doesn't sound anything like the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI and Sheriff Ford and all them told us. They said that Margot Anderson did all this by herself so Finch could get richer. But let's watch what actually happened, okay? Now, remember that Vicky Gaynor, city manager, and Michael White are really tight. Even to this day, under oath, city manager Vicky Gaynor, to this day, under oath, on December 12th of last year, in front of Judge Walker, said that Michael White was a fantastic city manager. Even though he stole, look, nobody's perfect. Yeah, he stole, she admitted under oath. How much did he steal? Close to 5 million that he stole? Yeah. And you say he was a great city manager? Absolutely. Those are quotes. I think I have it, actually. You want to see that? Yeah, I do. Look at this. Here it is. If I say it, I'll show you. Look at that. So Guy Lewis, the defense attorney, on December 12th, Vicky Gaynor, city manager's on the stand. You had texted Michael White throughout your relationship with him. About what a great job he had been doing. How blessed you were to work with him. Yes, says Vicky Gaynor. How hard he was working. How much he had done so much good for the city of Lynn Haven. That's very true, says Vicky Gaynor. Do you know how much the total amount he wound up stealing from the government, Lynn Haven? Do you know what the total is? City manager right now, Vicky Gaynor, says yes. How much is that? Vicky Gaynor says it was close to 5 million. That he stole? You know, nobody's perfect. Quit being so negative, Thompson. You know, you're not very forgiving. But it was Michael White, who you're going to see in 2018 here, who was pushing for the additional $790,000 to borrow from the Bank of James Finch so that they could do the storm drain work, which needs to be done. It just so happened to be in the neighborhood Vicky Gaynor was going to buy a house, build a house. You know. All right. So let's watch how this all goes down. Right? They wanted they Finch said, I'll loan you another $790,000. You could tack it on. Let's see if Margot Anderson did anything that the investigators and prosecutors accused her of. And let's see if the government's main witness against Finch, Michael White, who's in the blue shirt sitting next to Margot Anderson here, let's see if he was the one who was pushing for this, which, again, I think needed to be done. But it's not quite the way we were told. Remember, this is the government's main witness against Finch. Here you go.
Then moving to item number 18, the approval of the addendum to the 17th Street Ditch Financing Agreement to include the first scope of work involving city stormwater improvements from the city's stormwater master plan. There will be action required on this, and city manager has a brief explanation for the board and the public.
Yes, y'all bear with me on this one in several parts.
Okay.
If you recall, the 17th Street ditch was a project that we have done a design build with Phoenix Construction, and where also Phoenix Construction provided financing for this project. The original contract was for $3.72 million, in which we are paying debt on currently today. That was a 30-year loan for 2.55% interest. So we're paying roughly about $14,795 per payment per month for that loan. Y'all done a change order on 4/12/2007, which is change order number 3, which 17, yes ma'am, I'm sorry, 17, which was to also do another section of the ditch that we had to do, which is on the other side of Highway 77. And then DOT is going to do a $750,000 component of that ditch as well. So, and that's from former city manager Joel trading out some land and getting that done for us. So our part of task order 3 is $668,305. We have not started that project, so we're not paying any.
That's what I showed you last night, right? When they added the $668,000 to the 3.7 million, and that brought it to 4.4 million, which is what the city owed James Finch, what they borrowed from James Finch until this point. Now they want to add another 790,000 to that mortgage. Finch said, sure, I'll do it for you. No good deed goes unpunished, as they say. And so here we are tacking on another 790,000 for a different project altogether. But why not? Right? Why not?
Anything right now. It's been awarded, but it's going to go in conjunction with the construction on Highway 390. We, as you know, stormwater was a topic like Commissioner Russell mentioned, and several has mentioned quite a bit. We have a lot of stormwater problems in the city of Lynn Haven. And one of the first places when I first become city manager was behind us here, Mississippi, Colorado, that whole big area there. Texas is a vast problem in that area. So I had tasked when we.
Okay, so what I want to point out about that area is that is where the city manager, who's now the city manager, and who at the time, I forget her exact title, but she was up there. Right? She was essentially. It wasn't her title, but she was essentially the assistant city manager and would soon be the city manager. And so since that area is a big flood problem, it was, you buy land cheaper there than when they fix it. And sort of like insider knowledge, she would end up buying a piece of land and building a home right there. And God bless her for doing it. I wish everybody had a little bit of inside knowledge and a friend to fix the area like she has.
When y'all recommended that we go ahead with the engineering study to do a stormwater study for the city of Lynn Haven. I asked them to start right there. So all the engineering, all the models, everything has been done for that area. I have been wanting to try to alleviate a lot of issues. We've had the Mississippi road's been blown out before. Just this week, I had several property owners email and text me pictures of their yard with 6, 8 inches. You pretty much see kids' toys floating in the backyards. There's been several houses flooded in that area. I think as a way of starting our stormwater study and some good faith for a lot of the citizens in that area, it's something that we really need to look at. In order to fix that area, you are looking at $790,000 and $790,250. I have spoken with Mr. Finch about the possibility of trying to roll this into the 17th Street ditch. I have also met with our attorney, and considering this is an opportunity of loss of property to private and also public property, we do not have to bid it out according to statute. So what this would be an amendment to that contract. Right now, what would happen if we added out figure to our contract with the $668,000? You pay $14,795 a month for that payment. It would go to, with the task order 3, in which you've already approved, it'll go to $16,922. And if you approve this task order 790 to fix that stormwater for those citizens and our roads area, it'll go to $20,065. So you're looking at a increase of $3,143 in a payment per month. That, of course, is a 30-year loan at a rate of 2.55. I also have reached out to Hancock Bank trying to figure out what interest rates are now on a project of this nature. They range from 6.25% to 6.5%. So I did some amortization schedules earlier today. We would pay, if with the 2.5.
Did you get that? So James Finch loaned them the money at 2.55% when a bank was going to charge them 6.5% interest. That's the government's main witness against James Finch, pushing for the project. This particular project's not illegal. In fact, none of them were. This is so crazy to watch it, to see what actually took place. Not some narrative that the WMBB is put together with working with the feds, whatever the hell they're doing. This is unbelievable. Pretty nice of you, James. Pretty nice of the defendant, who they want to put in prison for the rest of his life. Look how happy they are to get this loan at 2.55% from the bank of James Finch. Watch how happy they are. And they should be. But now he is the prime witness for the prosecution against James Finch for a retrial, because they got to take as many cracks at it as it takes, evidently.
55%, we'd pay $341,000 in interest if we went with Phoenix, Mr. Finch's offer, or if we did our own and try to get it just at 6.25%, you're looking at paying interest back of $961,000. So you'd pay approximately $619,968 more in interest if you went the conventional way. If you wanted to start on the stormwater, I would highly recommend looking at this.
Just have a couple comments to add to that.
Go ahead, Nick.
I met with Mr. Jackson.
Okay, so who pushed for this? It was City Manager Michael White. And I don't think it was a bad deal. A pretty damn good deal, right? But the point is, well, you know what the point is. So now the city attorney is gone for this meeting, but somebody from the office, another attorney, is going to make a suggestion here.
Jackson yesterday. The main thing that I took away from that that's slightly different, he's comfortable that you can approve this purchase. There's an exemption basically under the bidding statute. It's not called an emergency exception, but that's the general idea. If you've got property at risk, you've got an imminent need, and it's caused by something like flood or natural disaster, you can do that. His preference, though, and it comes back to Ms. Tender's comments.
I don't know, Michael. So if you know, tell us, okay, or send me a message. I don't know who it was. Sorry.
Is rather than adding it to your existing contract, because it's not something that was really contemplated in that contract when it was bid out, just do a new standalone contract for it, which will be very similar to that 17th Street contract. We'll prepare that and get it done over the next couple of days, but you could make that approval tonight and we would just get it done after the fact. But as part of that approval, some deliberation on the flooding and risk to property, finding that those circumstances exist and justify doing this project without bidding is something you should include with your deliberation and your motion.
Thank you.
Okay, so the project wasn't bid out. What's the deal there? The project wasn't bid out. Is that an issue? Well, I'll share that information with you, and we'll explain that, and wait till you see the rest of the conversation right after this.
When your life is on the line, hire the lawyer who lives in our community, works in our community, and worships in our community. I'm El Saleen, your Panama City Beach lawyer. 850-215-0628.
Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777.
Okay, so the project was not bid out, but Finch offered to loan the money and get it done. So let's find out why it's not a problem. The attorney is saying because it has to do with flooding and natural emergency type stuff, that they can go ahead and do this, but they're a little iffy about it. Let's listen.
Are there other questions or comments from the board?
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead, please, Commissioner Friend.
Thank you, Mayor. First, city attorney, separate contract for the work or separate contract for the financing?
Both.
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Russell.
Separate contract for the financing is going to change your payment schedule because you're going to have a separate principal and interest. Right?
Yeah, yes, I've spoken with Mr. Finch. He has agreed to roll back the loan to 30 years. So it'll be effectively when we're going to have to do it anyway with task order 3. So when we roll back task order 3, I'm going to roll it back to 30-year payout term. And this would follow the same suit. We'll continue paying payments on that. It'll pay down the principal. And of course, most of it's going to be interest anyway because it's a new loan. And then we would start 30 years with a new note.
So,
well, that's awful nice of the Bank of Finch. Sure, absolutely. Just make your last payment when I'm over 95 years old at 2.55%. Boy, I sure thought when the feds had the press conference that Mayor Anderson and Finch had really finagled some secret stuff so that he could get even richer. Thought it was real crooked.
what you're telling us now is a little different than the conversation with Mr. Jackson. And did he advise that it could not be done just to roll it together, or what?
No, he advised that you could approve the work, but to just do it as a new separate contract.
And I also talked to Rob as well. He mentioned that, and he said, and you could amend the current contract as well.
Okay. Okay, is there any other discussion from the board? Recommendations? Okay.
Yeah, I would just go ahead and make another comment.
Go ahead, Commissioner Friend.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a tough one for me. You know, I know I'd made a statement a while back. You know, I'd like the city not to take on any additional debt. That being said, I recognize cheap money when I see it.
I'll say.
And this is an amazing rate. That's why we did it a long time ago. It was a great answer for a long standing issue on 17th Street. And I see this kind of as the same way. This gives us the opportunity to get started on that stormwater. So I'm just, it's a tough one for me because I don't want to take on the additional $790,000 worth of debt, but I just don't think we can pass up this particular offer at 2.5.
Yeah, 2.55%, man. You got the Bank of James Finch helping the city like crazy.
5%. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there
Mayor?
any? Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Barnes.
I'd like to make a motion, please.
Go ahead, please.
I move that we approve this based upon the city attorney's recommendation to make it a separate contract. Is that correct? Correct. Okay.
I'd second that motion.
So there's been a motion and a second. Was everything included in the motion that was needed to be there?
I would just suggest that you add to the motion that the reason why you're approving it without going through the normal bidding process is the flooding that's occurring and the risk to property.
Okay, I want to ask you a question. Did you see what Mayor Margot Anderson did? She asked the attorney in a public meeting if they dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's. Was this legit? Now, does that look like the narrative that WMBB, the feds, and Sheriff Tommy Ford have been giving us? She just asked the attorney before we go on any further, do we need to make any, and he said, yeah, you ought to add that into the motion. And there's Antonius Barnes doing what the attorneys said to do.
And I'll amend my motion to read.
To reflect the statements of the attorney. Okay. And the second, Commissioner Russell.
I'll
Okay.
amend the second.
Is there any further discussion from the board? Is there any discussion from the public or questions from the public about this matter? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward.
I didn't plan to speak tonight.
If you'd pull the microphone, that
Okay.
helps people at home hear you.
I
as well.
didn't plan to speak tonight, but I live on Colorado, and we moved there July of 16, and it was going to be our retirement home, and we were there 1 year, and in July, not just a little bit of water, but 150-foot deep river come from the front of our house all the way to the very back, and it was just a swift flow all the way, and it was about 4 or 5 inches deep. And we had just installed hardwood floors and had done a lot of work in the house, and I have been apprehensive about staying here. And I just want to say thank you for approving this, because now I can make this my forever home and a community that I can grow old in, and I thank you all.
Thank you for speaking, ma'am. It's time that that neighborhood be fixed, and we're
Well, geez, great to have the Bank of James Finch at 2.55%, who gets the work done under budget and under time, and everybody says he does a great job at it. There's some pretty grateful people. All the commissioners said they were, the staff said they were, the people say they are. Done by the book. And here you see the prosecutor's main witness, Michael White, advocating for it because it was the right thing to do. Wow. Now there's another gentleman who comes up. I'm gonna pass forward to the vote because he has technical questions about stormwater and the pipes and the maintenance. And although they're very important questions, they're not germane to what we're talking about here. So let me kind of forward it a little bit.
To drive through our city, especially on the.
I do it every day,
and
every
the
day,
vegetation
and stay on the phone.
Yeah. So maintenance is the problem that I see. So if we don't address maintenance, we get stuck with this large bill. So that's
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you.
And I can agree with that. I'd add a couple of things. The stormwater study that the mayor is alluding to should be finished by the end of the year. And like she said, it covers citywide. As far as the maintenance and all, it goes back to what Commissioner Russell said. As far as the money, a lot of things can be fixed, maintained, but it does take the money in that area to do it. Because with this budget, we're transferring over $900,000 from water to the stormwater to cover expense. But another thing has been the rain here lately. I know a lot of people's called my office. All these.
Just remember that the guy. This is less than a month before Hurricane Michael. Just remember that that's the prosecution's main witness, Michael White, former city manager, who has pled guilty to defrauding the city of Lynn Haven. I showed you the transcript where the current city manager said it was about $5 million. It's unbelievable to see him sitting there and talking and then knowing that he's going to be the main witness for the prosecution. The dude that was instrumental in stealing $5 million from the city. Isn't that amazing?
These commissioners get called regularly, and then they call me as well again. But we are trying our best right now.
Yeah, we appreciate your attention to it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? There appear to be none. Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barnes.
Aye.
Commissioner Russell.
Yes.
Commissioner Tender.
Yes.
Commissioner Friend.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Well, I'll be damned. Unanimous again. Oh my goodness. It's so weird to watch this stuff and to learn about the focus. I really don't even want to get into a big diatribe about it. I just don't. How disappointing is it to know that the FBI and the Sheriff's Public Trust Unit and the U.S. Attorney's Office have so much evidence of who really stole from Bay County, who really had their hands in the FEMA cookie jar after Hurricane Michael, who really extended the cleanup, who really got the kickbacks. Hell, we don't even know where the $5 million of stolen money went. Michael White, who pled guilty a couple of years ago to this, he hasn't even been sentenced. He hasn't even gone to jail for it. He hasn't even returned a penny. And his plea deal required restitution. He hasn't had to pay back a penny. As long as you get up there and lie. But the thing is, though, now it is provable that his testimony is a lie. And the prosecutors now have to decide if we retry this case, that James Finch conspired, that's the first count, to bribe, and then actually bribed Antonius Barnes with a $5,000 check in 2017 as a business loan that went into Barnes's business account. That's your focus? Get the Bonnie and Clyde of Bay County, Mayor Anderson and James Finch? Wow. I get that, 3 years ago, you thought that, you could make that work, if Mayor Anderson were to plead and if James Finch were to plead, you get away with it. But now that the evidence, that there's been a trial, that all the evidence is public, now everybody knows. It's bullshit. Everybody knows. What are you going to do? Well, we'll try it again. Try it again. Why? So tomorrow is the deadline for the prosecution to submit their answer to defendant James Finch's Rule 29 renewed motion for Judge Walker himself to acquit him after the jury found not enough information to convict. Hung jury on both counts. Only 5% of the time that happens. It happened on both counts. And now you see why, right? Now I see why. I didn't know this stuff until I looked at it closely. I did not think this was going to be the case. A year and a half ago, I posted, and I'm embarrassed about, I posted that Finch bribed Barnes. Mayor Anderson said, you really need to look at this. And I said, I will when it gets closer to trial. But I kind of didn't want to. Because, I had been told that they were really, really corrupt. And they had all the evidence to convict them. But I was misled. But now we know, now we see. So what's really going on here? Is it the Justice Department, or is it a protection racket? Is it deflection? Everybody knows. That should be the title of a TV show made about this. Everybody knows. But yet, prosecutors walk around like this is a real case. Sheriff Ford and the Public Trust Unit walk around like they really did something here. The FBI acts like they really did something here. Oh, you did something all right. But we all know, everybody knows, there's not a person watching that doesn't know. Now, there are some who have an interest in keeping this protection racket going. There are people who want to keep playing Let's Pretend, no matter how expensive it is and no matter whose life is ruined. I don't like her anyway. Saying that she's a public, she'd run around with Trump. She was really full of herself. And, Finch didn't get rich just by, doing a good job. He had to do something. Everybody knows. Will you please clean up this town? For how long did I tell everybody? How long did I tell you that I was told the Sheriff's Public Trust Unit, without the FBI, even if the FBI didn't do it, they were going to clean up this town? Sheriff Tommy Ford has that much character. I believed it. But now, where is everybody? Everybody knows. I don't even know what to say. I really don't. Partly my credibility is hurt because I've been telling you for 5 damn years, 4 at least, that I was told, boy, they're going to clean up this town. Could be the biggest public corruption bust in the history of these United States, and it should be. It should be. But Bernie, COVID hit, and that threw us off. This is what I've been told. COVID hit, and then the election, that just threw us off. And the third reason is don't lose faith. Things like this take time. Okay. I'm gonna thank those of you who allow me to tell you, to show you. How about that? To show you the truth.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan can make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at pcairrepair.com. And I'm going to show you the best way you can spend money on the internet. Right here. So, I mean, is this valuable or is this valuable? $5 a month as a tip would sure help an independent journalist, an independent watchdog. And that's one way that you could support my efforts to do this. This is all I do. Some people say, we know. Patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. That's one way you can support my efforts. And I also, of course, want to thank the Unknown Patriot for your support so that I can continue to do this and to, I like saying to show you the best I can. Thanks for being with me. And, oh, God, I got to tell you something for those of you still with me. Oh, man. Oh, tomorrow night is a very big night. You'll see. Tomorrow night, Panama City Beach is having a meeting. And I don't even have I'll post the details because I don't have them in front of me. Panama City Beach still wants to, and they're making adjustments on the fly. They still want to discharge stormwater into the Gulf of Mexico. They still want to dig a 30-foot deep trench right alongside Pier Park's pier on the west end, a quarter of a mile, half mile maybe. They want to dig up the Gulf of Mexico and put a gigantic pipe big enough to drive a car through 30 feet under the Gulf of Mexico to discharge stormwater with bacteria into the Gulf of Mexico, which would cause hypoxia or a dead zone. Yeah. And so they've got to check a box, and tomorrow they've got a public meeting so the public can get informed because, they got a $21 million HUD grant. They lied to the government. Panama City Beach did. They lied to the government and said Pier Park was a blighted area, and they got $21 million. Now, guess what? Well, Bernie, things are more expensive. See, we need about another $15 million. And they want to build 20 of them. They want to dig up all along the Gulf of Mexico. These people would put arsenic in the Gulf of Mexico if the kickbacks were big enough, if the land deals were worth it. And clearly, the feds are cooling the gang with it. Who's really pulling the strings? It is all coming into focus. And my team knows about it. Anyway, tomorrow I'll be dealing with that. How every single person that gives a damn about Bay County, I got to tell you, the environment, unsustainable, existential threat. There's an existential threat to Bay County, to the Gulf of Mexico, for God's sake. And not one, everybody wants to post in capital letters on Facebook about how much they care about the environment. Why are there not 10,000 people protesting this? You don't believe it? You know me. If I tell you it's true, I'll show it to you. That's tomorrow. God, it's just amazing. Stormwater into the Gulf, a quarter mile west of Pier Park, 1,500 feet at the end of Pier Park, the pier. Is that what you want? Well, Bernie, it'll help with stormwater. It's not any more stormwater than it already is. You don't know what you're talking about. You got to follow that story. Anyway, there's a big meeting tomorrow night. So I've got to make my reappearance to the PCB crime family tomorrow night.